We promised to talk about the somewhat controversial nature of the ending of the race at Atlanta Motor Speedway when the yellow came out just before the checkered, and it froze us in time and gave Christopher Bell the win. Brad Gillie, I felt bad for you and the rest of the crew calling the race in the sense that yellow robbed you of a chance to maybe call another three-wide finish.
Yeah. Hey, look, Mark was going to have the last lap yesterday, and he was really setting up for a big one, which was great. But, the caution did come out. For me, I didn't actually see the Josh Berry wreck. To be honest with you, I still haven't seen the Josh Berry wreck. I don't know where it was on the track or anything like that. I just know what people are saying, wait, why did last week end under green, but the duel didn't? And then, we heard that we're going to try and end under green, but then we find out Sunday morning, we're not, a lot of confusion with that. But it doesn't take away from what an amazing race Atlanta was. Unfortunately, it does take away some of the headlines from what an amazing race Atlanta was.
Yeah, it is. So I have so many. I don't think, and I will say this, I don't think you can have and say, okay, we're not going to throw this caution away. You got to take each individual thing. I am going to say this about the incidents that we've seen so far this year. If we go back to the qualifying race, there was no need for that caution. Mm-hmm. The wreck was happening right there at the start-finish line on the last lap. Those guys, as soon as they crossed the lap flag, they let off.
The field.
Yeah, half the field. The field is together. It's pack racing. Mm-hmm. So everybody's in the same place. There's not somebody straggling on the backstretch that's going to drive around into that wreck. Same thing yesterday. Exact same thing. They wrecked at the end of the backstretch. They're in there. These guys are racing. They throw the caution in between 3 and 4. They've still got time to take the flag and slow down, and plenty of time. So there was no reason for a caution at that point in time because they were off the racetrack to the left. The pack had passed because it's packed. It's all the cars. When you have the cars strung out, like you have it in Michigan or you have it at other places that we race, where they're so strung out, you need to throw the caution instantly, because there's cars coming. There's cars coming off two that are going to run into it in the middle of the backstretch. But with the pack racing and everybody in one place, you don't need, listen, and I'm going to use this as an example. We had a wreck on the front stretch. I think it was the 9 car or something. I can't remember who.
Chase Elliott,
and I know he wrecked one time, and it might have been the one with Suarez and stuff. Simultaneously, the 54 cut a tire, Ty Gibbs, and spun in the middle of the backstretch. Nobody knew it until some guy got off his camper and checked his Ring doorbell on the backstretch there, and he had Ring footage that saw him spin. That's how far away he was from all the action. All the cars were in one place on the racetrack.
I feel like that this is only going to come into effect, for the most part, at Talladega, Daytona, and Atlanta.
I would agree.
Yeah. Everybody else, I just don't think the nature of the racing there happens, although Texas last year, where Chase Elliott won, finished under yellow because of a last lap crash.
Well, that's true, and Chase Elliott was leading. But no, I'm not. I'm not calling that into question. I'm joking. But to Kyle's point, at Texas they're going to be strung out all over the racetrack. At Kansas they're going to be all over the racetrack. And just just a little of the history. Here's what this is my question to you, Kyle. Okay, so we have the Eric Jones could have won the duel, but didn't. Honestly, William Byron racing to the green flag, that was almost unnecessary in the Daytona 500 because it wasn't like we had a big battle, but they wanted to finish under green. And then they come on their own podcast, NASCAR, and says that, hey, we made a mistake in the duel, so we're going to do this. Now we come to the very next weekend, the very next race day, and in the Xfinity Series race, they hold it, and then people end up driving through debris.
Yeah.
So now Sunday morning they come and say, okay, we're not going to do that again. It's look, I'm on safety is number one.
Number one.
I think we can all agree on that. But it's like, wait, okay, we're going to do it. We're not going to do it. Okay, we're not going to do it again. Yeah. Okay, we did it. But now we're not. I understand the confusion and where people say and the criticism of the inconsistency.
Listen, I understand the criticism, but I do think in the spirit of safety, and I don't think you can have a hard, fast rule. I think you have to make that knee-jerk reaction. You have to make that call, and you have to take the heat. At the same time, I'm saying all that, I think when we have this type of racing, Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, when we have pack racing, you just need to look where the pack is. And if an accident happens in the center of the pack on the last lap or in a green-white checkered situation, you almost don't need a caution because it's the proverbial self-cleaning racetrack. You're going to cross the start-finish line and slow down and stop. It's the end of the day.
Now, one of the criticisms with Daytona staying green, and Danny Hamlin talked about this, other people did, said, okay, this was in a pack. It was at the front of the pack.
Yes.
William Byron was ninth, and he drove through it. So the rest of them are saying, if you keep it green, if it's at the front of the pack, we're all going to drive through it and probably wreck some more. I don't know that this one with Josh Berry was still at the front of the pack. Again, I actually have not seen it.
It was first quarter, first third. Yeah. It was in the first third.
Because Josh Berry was running toward the front.
First third.
Pretty much all day long.
But go back and watch, and it's all on the inside of the racetrack.
Okay.
So it's
so no one's driving through
a wreck. They're not coming down and coming back up the racetrack. You get that sometimes at Talladega. And I do understand that too. The problem is, and I will say this from a driver's perspective, if I'm in a pack at Daytona and they start wrecking in 5th or 6th, okay? 5th or 6th. My first thing is not, oh my God, I can win the race from 45th. You know what I mean? I'm not going to stay in the gas and drive through it. You've got to weave your way through the wreck no matter what. And then you accelerate, you get back on the gas or whatever you've got to do. But the thing is, you're going to have to slow down if the pack starts up front no matter what. So whether you throw the caution or not, whether they throw the caution, there's no kamikaze at the back who's trying to get to the front, at that point in time.
So I thought this was interesting. Greg Biffle posted this after Daytona. And he goes, I think NASCAR should implement a rule that from the place of the incident during a wreck/crash, the back of the field is frozen when the caution flag is enabled. Cars in front of the incident keep racing for the finish.
How do you...
I think that's interesting in theory. I don't know that in practicality you could do that.
Yeah.
That would be hard to that would be because there's always going to be that one that were they past the wreck or were they not,
Yeah, and here we are arguing whether they should, who makes the call and whether they do or they don't, and now we're going to go and break it down even further and say, okay, now you got to pinpoint the cars who do and who don't. You know what I mean? I think we've jumped the shark, Fonz.
Yeah, this is kind of
let's move to something else.
Splitting the atom here.